Hi, and welcome to this episode of Coffee with Steve. Say, I just want to mention to you, not only can you find all of Salty Earth Pictures movies that have been produced on various platforms around the world, like Amazon and Tubi and Apple Plus, but you can find Movie Critters, Big Picture, uh, Journey to Paradise, Mr. Scrooge to See You, The Return, The Open Door, The Author Star and the Keeper, Stand in the Gap, and hopefully very soon, oh yeah, also our documentary, Pete Big Elvis Valley, and hopefully soon the documentary on Daniel Truitt and our movie One by One, not only on all those platforms, but on saltyearthpictures.org. You can go to our store, or you can also go to On Demand, where you can watch the movies and buy them and watch them on your computer or television by streaming. All right. So another fantastic movie that's out there that you've got to see. Wasn't produced by us, but you can find on various platforms, including Netflix, is the movie Greater. It is a fantastic movie about Brandon Burlsworth, who was a walk-on football player for the Arkansas Razorbacks. And it's not only a football movie, but it is a movie about life, love, and faith, and you will love it. So please, if you haven't seen Greater, look it up. Salty Earth Pictures was blessed to have the star of Greater, Chris Severio, who played Brandon, in our movie One by One. He played one of the detectives, the Detective Turtle, in our movie. It was great to have him. And we have a special treat for you today, an interview with Chris Severio. And here he is. Well, welcome to Coffee with Steve, Chris. It's great to have you here.
Thank you, man. It's a pleasure to be here.
We are so blessed that you agreed to come on board for One by One, and we welcome you to the Salty Earth Pictures family. And you're a great talent, and you cut your teeth on a major movie called Greater, which just is loved by so many people. Can you tell us a little bit about what it was like on that experience?
Yeah, absolutely. It was life-changing to say the least. But with doing greater, I first have to say that it was something that I wasn't prepared for. And I don't just mean as an actor, but I just mean as a human being and learning and life and such nature. Um, it was a challenge that I took head on. And like I said, I wasn't ready for, I wasn't prepared for, but in the moment and while filming, it was something that changed my life forever because not just because of the story and the message that it was leaving, it's the message that I left with when I got done filming. Because at the time, I really didn't have, I had kind of lost my way and lost my faith, and Brandon's story really installed faith back into my life, which is something I wasn't expecting. And so when we finished filming, I would say, 2 months or so afterwards, I was having trouble with coming back to being Chris and who I am, and didn't really know and was unsure. And it was because of Brandon's message and how it touched me and it saved me in a lot of ways. Is something that I didn't see coming and wasn't expecting, and it was a blessing, in disguise.
Wow. You mentioned something really interesting there. Not only do we pray that our movies are impacting to audiences, but we found, and it sounds like you found too with Greater, that it's impacting with those who are performing it and actually being a part of making the movie.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
That's terrific. Now, what was it like? It's your first movie out, and One by One is based on a real life character, and so was, of course, Greater. What was it like, stepping into not only a character's shoes, but someone who was a real person's shoes?
Intimidating, to say the least. That his family was on set most days, which it was great to be around them and getting to meet them, and I really, created a bond and friendship, with his family. But like I said, it was intimidating because I'm playing this real life character, and I'm trying to figure out what am I doing right and what am I doing wrong, and how do I make sure that what I'm doing is good with the family, making sure that they can be something. I mean, it could be something that they're proud of, and to make sure that I'm going to portray their son in a way that brings light into their life to be able to spread his message and what they want. And so and that itself is a challenge. And trying to figure that out at the age I was at, like I said, I was not prepared, but I took what it was and I took it head on, and I made sure that what my mom and dad always told me growing up was that when you have something ahead of you, you take it by the, just like you take the bull by its horns, and you go for the ride. And just made sure that day in and day out that by the time I got finished filming that, I left it all there. I left it on set. And
Well,
so
yeah.
that was something I'd be proud of.
Well, and you should be proud of it. And not only did you have, of course, probably Brandon's family, but you had a director and a writer and everything. How about
Yeah,
this? How about that?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So the director and the producer, and what happens to be Neil, who plays my brother Marty in the movie. Growing up, I watched his career as a child, and he was an actor that I looked up to, and that like was aspired to be like. He was somebody that was in my top 10, if you would say. And so being on set with him, being in front of all the cast and crew on a daily basis, and that's what I kind of mean by when I say I wasn't prepared for such a role, because you're going in and day out, and you're filming these long hours, and you're with this director who's telling you one thing, you got producers telling you another thing, you got the writer coming to tell you, and then you have the story, the novel. There's a novel, The Eyes of a Champion, that the story is based off of Brandon's life, and trying to make sure that you're going right by that, and then you have his family. So it was a lot of pressure, but it was something that never felt too difficult to be able to complete. If I
Hmm.
make sure I'm not jumbling my words there, but yeah, being with the cast and crew, it if it wasn't for the rest of the cast and crew, I wouldn't have been able to do my job, because a lot of those guys, like Grant Cook, who uh played Grant in the movie, he was a guy that I connected to, and Neil was a guy I connected to, and it was something I asked daily when we were working, was like, hey, is there any advice you could give me? And I'm talking to Grant, and he's not even an actor. He was a football player. But my advice I would try to get from him, is his wisdom was football, because I never played football in my life, and it was something that I started enjoying when I got this project. I had never been a football fan, really, and my entire family are football fanatics. They're LSU Tigers, and
Oh no.
I became an Arkansas Razorback. And so it's already bumping heads there, but I really got to learn the game of football in itself. And I went into it telling the guys that were on the football teams, like, hey, when we first went into practice, I was like, guys, I don't know what the heck I'm doing, and I'm not going to act like I do, but I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to put it all out there, and I'm ready for it. And so a lot of the guys would work with me. And like I mentioned, Grant, great human being to just sit there and have one-on-one talks about football, and then completely left field make me laugh, because there were times that were really intense for me, especially playing a character where a real life character where I'm getting picked on, and things that I dealt with in real life. And he's coming to me like a brother in arms almost, and lifting me up in ways that I didn't really realize at the time, but I learned as time went on. And it was, like I said, it's life changing. All of it, everything that happened, it was a life changing experience, and I grew from it, and not just as a person, but as a man. You
Right.
know,
Well,
so it was
that's
great.
awesome. And the Neil that Chris is talking about is, of course, Neil McDonough, who we gotta somehow I gotta write a part that he plays your brother again, but only in the Salty Earth Pictures movie.
That's right. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, he's a wonderful human being, which was funny. A good story about Neil, that I can share. The day I met him, I went in, we were doing meetings, and I'm coming in to fill out paperwork, and I look up on this wall, and that's the whole cast is blasted, and there's pictures of everybody and who's going to be in the movie, and I'm like, oh yeah, I know this person. I'm for some reason I'm going not from left to right, I'm going right to left, and because I'm number one picture up there, and I noticed that first, but I was like, well, who else is in it? And I'm looking back, and then I get to Neil, and I was like, oh goodness, I didn't realize Neil's in this movie, and I never really get starstruck, and I start freaking out. And I told the director how he was in, my top 10 favorite actors. I watched him in Minority Report and all the things that he was in, like Walking Tall and Band of Brothers. I could just list off scenes and quote his lines from different movies at that time, and all of a sudden he walks in. And so he walks in the door, and I'm at this table filling out paperwork, and I'm looking at him like, "Whoa, what's happening to me right now? I'm freaking out. My heart's racing. What is this?" And he comes and sits next to me. Well, I told the director that, and he went and told Neil that I was a huge fan, ahead of this, and how I looked up to him. So he sits next to me, and he doesn't say anything. He looks at me, and I don't want to make eye contact because I don't want to be weird. And so I'm sitting there, being my weird self, sitting there, paperwork, kind of glancing, and he's just staring at me. And so he finally reaches over and he grabs a pen out of my hand while I was writing, and he said, thanks. And he goes to start writing and filling out his paperwork. And I'm a kid from the South, and I have a hot temper. That's how I was raised. Don't be disrespected. You show everybody with respect. And I just felt in that moment that I completely got disrespected. But it wasn't the case. He was playing a joke. But in the moment, I'm sitting there and I'm getting like flustered red. I was like, I can't believe my one of my favorite actors just was really rude to me. Like he just took my pen. That was my pen. And so I'm looking at him, and he looks at me and he goes, "You got a problem?" And everything, in my brain was sitting there, pop off, say something, handle your business. But I was like, no, sir. And then he started laughing, and he put his hand around me, and he goes, "Man, I'm just playing with you. They told me that you were a really huge fan, and I had to come mess with you." He goes, "And I'm going to be doing this throughout the entire time we're filming together, and I just had to show you some brotherly love." And I was like, "That's just like my brother to do that, because my own older brother, he does been doing that stuff, since I was a child."
And Marty in the movie was sort of that way also, wasn't he? Yep, to
Yeah,
Brandon. Yep.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, which was great between scenes, like when we were working together or when we weren't working together. If we were on set the same day, we were having conversation, we're throwing the football, we're wrestling, we're slap boxing. He really treated me in the time we had together as a brother. He really took me under his wing, and he's done so much for me that I could never even begin to thank him. And so for that, I'm grateful.
Wow, that is just so wonderful. And we are grateful to you to not ignoring my email saying, "Hey, do you want to be in a movie in Wisconsin?" Oh, and by the way, it's in November. But can you tell us a little bit about what kind of attracted you to One by One, and why you were willing to say, "Yeah, I'll come up there and do this"?
Um, First off, I think it had a lot to do with you creating a friendship
Mhm.
with me, reaching out, just having conversation. And to me, that is everything. To build a bond, build a friendship out of nothing, and it revolve around God. As this time in my in my life, that means so much for me, because there's times where my life goes up and down, where my faith tends to fade away, and it just, in the time that you connected to me, was like, hey, this is a sign, stay on track, keep your head down, keep going towards the right path. And then you came to me about it being a faith-based film, and you let me read the story and the script, and it touched me because of everything that I've been through in life. I went through, to not just bring up Greater again, but a lot of things that I went through in life was the same parallel as Brandon. But in that, learning, reading the story and having the main character, go through his adversity in life and who he was, and then who he became, and the congregation he built, one by one, these bonds and friendships and families is what attracted me, because that's exactly how you attracted to me. That's how you connected to me, was just having conversation and relating to me, and have, like I said, talking. And so when I read it, I was like, I'll do anything to be a part of that, because to me that seems so, warm and heartful. And in the story, I know that's going to reach others.
Mhm.
And that's something I want to be a part of. I don't have to ever be a main character or anything, but if I can be a part of something for a greater message to be sent out to touch others, to bring in, I'll absolutely be a part of that. And that's what attracted me to the story.
Oh, well, it's so wonderful to hear. And I've seen it from beginning to end in rough cut, and I do not think you're going to be disappointed. I can't wait for you to see it.
Awesome.
We're pretty excited about it. So what was it like? Here's this wonderful Southern boy coming up here in Wisconsin in November and jumping into the Salty Earth Pictures family. Was it what you expected, or are you going to come back
Oh,
someday? Or
Yeah, absolutely. Hands down, coming back. I can't wait. I loved it. Love being up there, especially the weather. For me, my parents have always said that I should have been born in Alaska. I'm a Southern man that loves the cold weather. So
oh,
being up there was just like, I was walking around in shorts every day. And the one of the days I had off, I went walking a few miles and came back, and it was raining, but it was fine. And it was freezing cold, and I'm walking in shorts, and I know people are looking at me driving by like, he's crazy. But I was good with it. I was like, this is the time of my life. I'm having fun. The people are great. And like I said to you before, it is really a family. And I felt that impact being with y'all on a day-to-day basis for the time that I got to be with you. You know, conversations not just with you, but with Lance, with Michael. I've really gotten a great friendship with Michael. We stay in contact. I mean, we're at least, talking at least once or twice a week. And I've never witnessed that in film and any of the other projects that I've done, and that's something I think I've always yearned for. Like I really wanted to have a connection with people, and make friendships, because in this industry and in life, I'm a bit of a loner. I've always been the weird cat, in the corner. I've always been the guy outside, and then it was finally something being a part of something where I felt that I have something growing here. I can go forward and always have somebody there. And whether it's a film or it's a conversation, I know it's going to touch me in some way, and it's going to help me, or I can help someone in return.
well, we sort of have a unwritten motto at Salty Earth Pictures that probably echoes the Godfather a little bit. Every time you try to get out, we pull you back in. So
That's right.
don't try to go too far. Chris, thank you so much, not only for just sharing the time here today, but sharing your talent and really becoming part of what we hope is really going to make a difference one by one around the country and the world in the not too distant future.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. I agree. And I just want to say thank you for the opportunity for bringing me in and letting me get to meet you, your family, and the entire Salty Earth Pictures family. And I got to say, I'm happy to be a part of that in any way. And I cannot wait to return.
Oh, well, thank you and happy Easter to you.
Happy Easter.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Chris. You're a wonderful guy, and we are so looking forward to working with you again in the real near future. I just want to take this moment to wish all of you a very joyous Easter. Um, what a wonderful time of the year where we all pause to give thanks for the greatest gift ever given, the gift of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. He is risen. He is risen indeed. We'll see you next time.